is we want to move on to trade talks in December. I don't think that's going to happen. I do not believe that is going to happen, which begs two questions. Do we never have to do a total reverse ferret and think about this again? Because if they say no to this, it's quite clear. It's not about the amount. It's about making it very difficult. It's about making the whole thing not just awkward, but almost impossible. That is the brief of Barnier. Make it almost impossible. You've got to ensure that the Brits come out of this with the worst possible deal. You have to show the remaining members of the EU that this is never, ever a risk you would want to take again. It's got all of that kind of Clockwork Orange when Alex is pinned to the chair and made to watch very grim video footage of terrible events. It's kind of all of that. This is what could happen to you if you decide to exit the EU. So I don't think it's going to go their way, unless you could tell me, is there a bigger price? Would you pay more than 40 billion? Because there may be a point when you just play to their financial vanity and say, well, OK, 100 billion. Yeah, all right, we'll forget all the above. 100 billion, would you pay 100 billion? Is that good enough? Where would your red lines be on this one? Where are your red lines? When you voted at the dispatch box, the ballot box, and put your remain or leave tick, what were you thinking was going to happen by about this stage? What risks were you considering taking? What did you think was worth it in terms of our negotiating position? 0345 6060 973. I don't think this will go anywhere at all. I think it's not a case of... These guys aren't laughing, by the way. When I hear colleagues say, oh, they're laughing at us, I think people who are hysterical Remainers like to believe that. These people are not laughing. There's nothing funny about what is happening here. We've broken their club. We've broken the rich boys' playground. We've broken all the rules. And as a result of that, these men, they're not laughing. They are very, very angry people. So I'm not so sure whether Theresa May's 40 billion offer, if that is the figure we're talking about here, could be slightly more. I don't think that's going to cut any kind of ice at all. So where are your red lines? 0345 6060 973. We're busy on this one already. Don't go away. Andrew, Stephen, Nigel, Roy, Ben, Lawrence, Mark and others with you guys shortly. It's 0345 6060 973. Late Night with Ian Collins, LBC.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Well, President Mugabe defied his enemies and probably astonished the world yesterday in an extraordinary live television address in which he desperately clung to power. Lance Guma is journalist and managing editor at Nhanda Radio, Zimbabwe News in the UK.
The generals wanted to have a look at Mugabe's speech before he went live on air, and you could see from the uncomfortable fidgeting by the generals that probably what Mugabe was reading is not what had been agreed.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Hampton by Hilton. Book direct for the lowest price.
Every weekday morning from 7, only on LBC.
Imagine if your business's complete IT requirements could come straight out of a box. Well, that's what Intersys can offer. Complete IT management, cybersecurity, backup and disaster recovery, all straight out of the box.
To see how Intersys can manage all your IT, leaving you free to run the business, just search intersys.co.uk. That's INTERSYS.
And think IT out of the box with Intersys, a partner you can trust.
To be honest, when I heard about this, I thought, you're having a laugh, aren't you? It's called the Smart Meter Power of 10p Challenge, where basically I had to feed as many bodybuilders as possible using just 10p of energy. No pressure then, guys.
Come on, Ainsley.
But after a manic cooking frenzy...
Stop, your 10p's up!
I still managed to prepare an incredible 14 meals. Get in there, my son.
See how far 10p could go in your home. Contact your energy supplier about getting your smart meter at no extra cost.
Block management. 2 very simple words. But what do they actually mean? Well, there's budget approval for starters, then service charge invoices, health and safety paperwork, Cleaning, gardening, maintenance, inspections, contracts, insurance, emergency call-outs, and a whole lot more besides.
So for complete block management solutions, just remember 3 simple letters. ABC. ABC Estates will take care of all your day-to-day management, leaving you as happy as Larry. See abcestates.co.uk or call 0800 888 6688.
We all love a Sunday roast, but we don't always have time to rustle one up midweek. Or do we? Our new Bisto Best ready-to-use gravy pouch is made with real meat juices for that authentic, rich, roasted flavour. Simply heat and pour for the best chicken roast dinner on a Monday. Ah, Bisto.
At this time of year, give your body nutritional support with Immunace multivitamins. With vitamin D, zinc and selenium, which contribute to the normal function of the immune system. Immunace from Vitabiotics, the UK's #1 vitamin company. Available from Boots, pharmacies and vitabiotics.com.
When you need more space.
Think creatively. What could you use a log cabin for? A studio? A home office? A den for the kids? Creative Living will design and build a log cabin to suit your needs, even taking care of electricity and climate control. See for yourself at our 3 large cabin display villages in Surrey. Find out where at creativelivingcabins.co.uk.
Your own log cabin, handcrafted, the creative living way.
Relax, it's Trust a Trader. Just type in your postcode, what you need, and ta-da! Local tradespeople appear. Visit trustatrader.com.
Trustatrader.com.
Late Nights with Ian Collins on LBC.
Peter in Lancing says, you're talking about federalism. Pure and simple. No thanks, I voted Leave. I voted for independence. That's what I think most people did, if you can remember specifically, if you had a thought on it. But it would probably be overridden with that word independence. But at what price? Any price? Andrew in Halifax. What are you thinking, Andrew?
Oh, good evening, Ian.
Hello.
Well, as you know from our previous conversations, I voted Leave, and I would pay just about any price to get us out of this club. There is nothing that's taken place in the month since the vote that's persuaded me I did anything other than do 100% correct.
200 billion euros. Would you pay them that?
No. What I would say is I'm very much in the Peter Bone wing of this by saying that we should pay nothing. However, if the EU was to come up with a legally costed and itemised account minus the assets that we already have with them, then whatever that figure is, and it would be nowhere near 40 billion, I'm pretty sure of that, then I think we should pay it. Otherwise, we should pay nothing.
Why do you think that isn't a tactic from David Davis's team? Because it sounds reasonable. Give us an itemised list and we'll let you know whether we can pay it.
Absolutely. One of the reasons I resigned from the Conservatives earlier this year is because I've completely lost faith in them to deliver the Brexit that I voted for. But one of the things that really does worry me, and this is an absolute red line with anybody who believes in the integrity of the United Kingdom, is that the EU must not be allowed to use Brexit as a cleaver to prize Northern Ireland away from the rest of the country. That is an absolute no-no.
And do you sense that they've spotted an Achilles heel on this one?
Well, I think so, but the problem is that 63% of the exports from Northern Ireland go to the rest of the UK. Only 17% go to the Republic and 8% to the EU. So, Northern Ireland is very, very much intertwined with the UK single market.
You're talking about Northern Ireland exports, not Irish exports here.
I'm talking about specifically Northern Ireland exports.
Okay. I know that Ian Dell got into some controversy over the figure from Ireland this week, and a old row ensued on Twitter.
Indeed, I saw a bit of that. But, if they go down this ludicrous suggestion of putting a border in the Irish Sea, then not only will they pretty much destroy the Northern Ireland economy overnight, but they'll also trigger off the Troubles round 2.
Yeah, I think you might be right, Andrew. Thank you very much for that. 0345 6060 973. It's interesting. The guy that I was listening to, it was Ian Dale's guest. It was very, very belligerent all the way through the interview about it's not 70% that Ireland exports to the UK, it's 16% or something. But then, as always, with every armchair economist, I noticed a plethora of varying figures from the aforementioned 16%, right the way up to about 60-odd% from Ireland itself. I'm pretty sure, on average, over the last 5 years, it's probably higher than 16%. But hey, by saying that, I might get into the same territory as Ian Dale got into. Lawrence is in Camden. What was it all about, Lawrence? Hi.
Well, it was basically it was all about people. I mean, would you open up a business? Would you open up a shop? Would you go in? Would you sign a contract where you have no idea about what the consequences, what the conditions are? People going off and voting for something they knew nothing about. And then
you think nobody? Did you have to know everything?
Excuse me. Let me finish.
No, I'm joining in. I'm not interrupting you.
And then the Pied Piper, who led all these rats into the sea, then as soon as he got what he wanted, ran away.
Well, you mean it wasn't? You're talking about Nigel Farage. You mean it wasn't Farage's democratic right as a citizen to launch a campaign for us to come out of the EU?
Well, that's fine, but I don't want to have to listen to that man 6 out of 7 days a week.
Yeah, well, the good thing is, the great news on that is that you don't actually have to. There's no EU directive as yet that says you have to, but you probably will because it will make you angry.
Honestly,
but listen, Lawrence, not everybody had to have an in-depth knowledge of the entire mechanics of the EU to know that they didn't like the construct.
No, but hang on, but to have no clue at all, and then...
Well, hang on, how do you know nobody had no clue at all?
Well, isn't it obvious right now? Nobody had any clue.
Well, nobody anywhere had any clue at all.
Well, that seems to be the case.
Because you're seeing it as the case. But you seeing it as the case does not make it definitively the case.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Because you see it that way doesn't mean that is the way it is.
Hang on, if I see a colour that's white and I'm not colourblind, then I see one that's black.
Okay, so if I decide I want to leave the EU because I believe all of our administration and bureaucracy would be best run from Westminster because I believe fundamentally that is more democratic. What is it about that sentence that I've got wrong?
One thing that people are forgetting, since we had the EU, since the EU came in, there's been no war in Europe. Okay, well,
it's not. You can't argue. There's been no war in Australia either, for that matter. I mean, come on, you can't argue it's because of that. But I'm asking you why I can't vote.
Hang on, that's a very important point.
Well, no, it isn't. It's a kind of it's sort of sophist argument in the sense that it appears to be a very powerful statement, but doesn't mean very much at all.
I don't even know what that means. And plus, it brought some colour into our country. It brought nice languages.
But that's a matter of opinion, isn't it?
Good food. No, it's a fact.
Well, I might agree with you, but somebody else might say, yes, because I agree with that, doesn't mean to say I have to buy into the whole wholesale idea that everything about the EU was democratic and fair.
Well, I was outside a club on Saturday night, and there was guys outside the club. There was it must have been about 20 of them, and they were like football hooligans, jumping up and down, shouting, Brexit, 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 and Theresa May, and I thought, you know what, the whole world has gone.
They were shouting Brexit and Theresa May?
Yeah, like football hooligans, like it was a football team.
So you heard them shout Brexit and Theresa May?
And then there was a young boy.
Why would they be shouting Theresa May? She's hardly a flag-waving example of a Brexiteer.
I dragged the young boy out and I said, listen, these kids will bust your head and they won't care anything about it. These are the most ignorant people on the face of the earth.
And you think you think those people that you met represent 52% of voters?
No, I think that if we have another referendum, it will be a landslide. That everybody will remain.
OK. Lawrence, thank you, sir. I think you've hit some fairly controversial points there, which many of our callers may want to pick up on. 0345 6060 973. I'd be interested to know what that kind of chant was. Brexit, Theresa May, Brexit. I've not really heard any Brexiteer kind of flag up Theresa May as their totemic figure of anti-EU brilliance. Roy is in Eastbourne. What are you thinking, Roy? 40 billion quid. Price worth paying? Or euros, I should say.
I mean, to say, look, we will give you a wedge of money on condition that you start talking about trade talks is criminal nonsense. Now, you might say we'll give you a few bob at the conclusion of successful trade talks. But you don't say, look, please take some money and start talking to me. It's absolute nonsense. They could take the money, they say, right, okay, we'll take 40 million, and then just be absolutely obdurate, when it comes to the actual trade talks and give us nothing.
But we appear to be in a place where Barnier and co are almost steadfastly refusing to talk anything unless there appears to be a guarantee of a reasonable wedge of cash.
Right. In that case, I'd say fine. We don't talk about that.
So we just leg it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we are absolutely being misled anyway at the moment, because there is nothing in Article 50 that we have to talk to them about other than how we legally and sensibly withdraw from the European Union. All these things like trade, Northern Ireland, immigration are what come next. They're not a part of Article 50. It's what we decide to do after March 19. Perfectly reasonable for us to be talking about it now as well as Article 50, but it's not a part of Article 50.
OK, right, nicely put. Thank you for that. And we'll talk to George Parker on this point from the FT in just a moment. But we did hear today that national parliaments or regional assemblies across the European... This gives you just some idea. I mentioned the word mafia a little earlier on. I would defy anybody to suggest that that is a gross hyperbole of this portion of the story. National parliaments or regional assemblies across the European Union will block a future trade deal if Britain tears up Brussels regulations on competition, food safety, social standards or environmental protection, according to Michel Barnier. Now, put simply, do you remember the Liam Fox chlorinated chicken story? Which might mean that it was chlorinated chicken, wasn't it? It may well mean that we would adjust our standards of food to have more synergy with the American model, which, by the way, many people would say, well, that's not a bad thing. Chlorinated chicken sounds like some kind of Frankenstein thing. It's what everybody eats when they go to America and get themselves a bit of fried food, which is half the world, of course. But it would be all of those kind of things. So if we agreed to some kind of trade deal, and then further down the line, after the agreement, this is certainly how I'm reading it, I stand to be corrected on this. So next, 3 years later, we suddenly say, OK, we're going to allow American imports of chlorinated chicken to come into the UK. That would mean, according to this, that national parliaments or even regional assemblies across the EU could then say, right, we're tearing up everything now because you've broken one element of the what we consider the trade agreement. So essentially, what Barnier is advocating here is that we would have to take with us all of the regulations on competition, food safety, social standards, environment, which is kind of like all the rules of Europe, if we want to get out. And if we don't, they won't deal with us. We'll talk about this with George Parker, political editor of the Financial Times, in just a couple of moments' time. Have we lost sight of what we want from Brexit? What price is too much for you? 40 bill, does that work? Where are your red lines on this one as well? We'll come back to that in a few moments. Also to come this evening.
Well, we're very puzzled by the government's position on this. What they're saying, in effect, is that animals cease to be sentient because we're withdrawing from the European Union. And that's, for us, a total nonsense.
This is one area where you might well think maybe Barnier's got a point here. 80% of our laws on animal welfare are from the EU. That is a fact. And MPs today voted to reject the inclusion of animal sentience. That is the admission that animals feel pain and emotion. They've rejected the inclusion of that point into the EU withdrawal bill. So this is when they're converting the EU laws into British laws. So at the moment, the EU law says animals feel emotion and pain. The new British law will not recognise that. The worry here is that this is a huge green light for animal abuse. It could mean hunting, returning. It could mean rules and regulations around experimentation in laboratories the bar being lowered in that area. This should worry everybody. We'll look at this in just a little bit as well. Right now, just gone 10:30. Let's get the latest news headlines. They come from Paul Smith.
Theresa May appears to have won the backing of those in her top team to increase the UK's divorce bill offer to the EU. It's understood Boris Johnson and Michael Gove were among those to agree to the move after a meeting of senior ministers.